What if I told you that millions of men are struggling with something they never talk about, not because it's rare, but because it's too common? Premature ejaculation. Yeah, that thing. Here's the shocking part. Up to 1 in 3 men deal with it at some point in their lives. That's not a small problem. That's normal. But no one really explains it properly. So what actually is it? It's when a man finishes sooner than he or his partner would like. And medically, it can mean finishing in about a minute, or even less after things begin. Sometimes it develops later in life. Sometimes it's been there from the very beginning. Either way, it can be frustrating. And let's be real for a second. This isn't just physical. It affects confidence, relationships, and how you see yourself. A lot of guys start overthinking. They feel like something is wrong with them. But here's the part most people don't tell you. You might not need pills. You might not need complicated treatments. In fact, you might already have the solution. And it's way simpler than you think, because recently, researchers started looking at something unexpected. Not medication, not therapy, something physical, something you can do every single day. And when they tested it, the results were surprising. Men started seeing improvements in just a couple of weeks. No drugs, no expensive treatments, just a simple daily habit. So now the real question is, what is it? What could possibly improve control without touching medication? In the next part, I'm going to show you the exact method. That's backed by research and takes less than 10 minutes a day. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at this problem the same way again. But here's the crazy part. One specific type of exercise is outperforming almost everything else, and most men are completely ignoring it. So, what's this simple habit that could actually improve control? It's not a pill. It's not a supplement. It's something your body already understands: exercise. Now wait. Before you click off thinking, what does exercise have to do with this? That's exactly what researchers thought too. Because on the surface, it doesn't seem connected at all. But when they looked deeper, they realized something powerful. Control isn't just physical, it's neurological. It's about how well your brain and body communicate under pressure. And one type of training stood out the most: high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, short bursts of intense effort, followed by brief rest. Simple, but extremely effective. In one controlled study, men were divided into groups. One group did just 7 minutes of HIIT per day. Another group practiced breathing exercises. And a third group, they changed nothing. After just a couple of weeks, the results came in. And this is where it gets interesting. The men doing HIIT showed significant improvement in control, not small changes, real noticeable differences. Think about that. Just 7 minutes a day created a measurable shift. So why does this work? It's not just about fitness, it's about awareness. When you push your body during intense exercise, you're forced to focus on your breathing, your tension, your limits. Over time, you become more aware of what's happening inside your body, and that awareness, it transfers. You start recognizing signals earlier. You gain control before things go too far. Instead of reacting late, you respond early. There's also another layer. Your body has two systems, one that speeds things up, one that calms things down. HIIT helps train both. So instead of losing control quickly, your body learns to balance itself. And the best part, you don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You don't need hours, just a few minutes of the right kind of intensity. But here's where things get even more interesting. HIIT isn't the only method that works. There's another approach that's slower, calmer, and in some cases, just as powerful. Some men were able to double, even triple their time using a method that looks nothing like intense exercise, and almost nobody takes it seriously. So what if I told you that something slow, something almost too simple, could improve control just as much as intense training? Sounds unlikely, right? Because when most people think about performance and they think more effort, more intensity, more force, but sometimes control comes from the opposite. Yoga. Yeah, not what you expected. And I know what you might be thinking. How is stretching and breathing going to fix something like this? Fair question, but researchers actually looked into this across multiple studies. Men who practiced yoga regularly started seeing real improvements. We're talking about going from just a few seconds to over a minute, sometimes even more, not overnight, but consistently. And here's why this matters. Because for a lot of men, the issue isn't just physical speed, it's tension, it's anxiety, it's being stuck in your own head. The more you worry about losing control, the faster it actually happens. It becomes a cycle. Stress, less control, more stress, even less control. Yoga breaks that cycle. It does 3 important things. First, it improves blood flow, especially in areas that matter for control. Second, it strengthens muscles you don't normally think about, the pelvic floor muscles. These muscles play a direct role in timing and control. Third, and this is the most important part, it trains your mind through breathing, through slow movement, through awareness. You learn how to stay calm even when your body is activated, and that changes everything. Yoga performed as well as certain medications. Let that sink in. No side effects, no dependency, just training your body to work the way it's supposed to. Now, to be clear, this isn't magic. It takes consistency, it takes patience, but if you stick with it, you're not just improving one thing, you're improving your focus, your stress control, your overall performance. And here's the interesting part. There's one more method. That sits right in the middle. Not too intense, not too slow. Something almost everyone has access to, but very few people use correctly. In one study, men increased their time from under a minute to over 3 minutes in less than a month. No complicated routines, no special techniques, just one simple activity. Done right. So far, we've talked about intensity, and we've talked about calm control. But what if the real answer is something right in the middle? Not extreme, not complicated, just simple. Running. Yeah, something almost everyone knows, but very few people use correctly. Most people run for weight loss or fitness. Some do it to clear their mind, but almost nobody thinks about this. Running can directly improve control, and not just a little bit. We're talking about major improvements. In one study, men followed a simple routine of moderate running. Nothing extreme, no crazy workouts, just consistent effort. After a few weeks, their average time increased from under a minute to over 3 minutes. That's not a small change. That's a complete shift. So what's happening here? Why does something as basic as running work? First, it improves blood flow. Better circulation means better control and better responsiveness. Second, it builds endurance, not just physical endurance, but internal control under pressure. Third, it reduces stress. And remember, stress is one of the biggest triggers for losing control too quickly. When your mind is calmer, your body follows. But there's something even more important. Running trains your rhythm, your breathing, your pacing, your awareness of effort, and that rhythm translates into better control in other areas of your life. Think about it. When you're out of shape, everything feels rushed. Everything feels harder to control. But when your body is trained, you move differently. You respond differently. And that's exactly what starts to happen here. Now again, this isn't instant. You're not going from seconds to perfection overnight. But with consistency, you build something real, something reliable. And now, if you step back and look at everything, HIIT builds intensity and awareness. Yoga builds calm and control. Running builds endurance and balance. Different paths, same goal. So the question isn't, which one is perfect? The real question is, which one will you actually stick with? Because in the end, the men who see real results aren't the ones looking for a quick fix. They're the ones who commit to a simple habit that most people quit after a few days. Here's the truth. Most men already know what to do. They just don't do it long enough to see results. And that's the real problem. Not lack of information, lack of consistency. Because right now, you're watching this. You understand it. It makes sense. But what happens tomorrow? Most people go back to old habits. No action, no routine, and then they wonder why nothing changes. but that doesn't have to be you. Let's make this simple. You don't need to overcomplicate anything. Start with just one: 7 minutes of HIIT or a short run or basic yoga. That's it. Not an hour, not a full transformation, just a small daily commitment. Because once you start showing up daily, your body adapts, your awareness improves, your control increases, and more importantly, you start believing in yourself again. That confidence, it changes everything, not just physically, but mentally too. Remember, this is a common issue. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. There are solutions, simple ones, natural ones you can start today. No pressure, no shame, just progress. If this video helped you understand things differently, make sure you subscribe, because here, we break down real problems into simple, practical solutions. And in the next videos, I'll show you even more ways to improve control, confidence, and overall performance. So take action. Start small, stay consistent, because the difference between staying stuck and actually improving is just one decision, repeated every day. And here's something most people don't realize. Fixing this one problem often improves way more than just performance. It changes how you see yourself.